Hi, I'm Phyllis from I Sew in the Doll Corner, and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to show you block number 9. I gave you a glimpse of it in my last video, but I really never showed you the finished block. So I want to show you the finished block and a little more how I did it. So this is my orphan block that I've had laying around here for a few years, several years. And I thought that will work in with, only I'll have to make it a 9 inches. And this is only 6 inches. And this is a churn dash. I think that's what they used to call this block. And it was all three squares basically. It's a 9 patch. And the 4 in the corners are half square triangles. And the other 4 is just a plain square with a fussy cutted block in the center. And this finished 6 inches. In the original quilt that I made, it had a dark border around it, and I think there was a little block in the corner, but can't really remember exactly. So I wanted to make it 9 inches. So I had a little bit of the extra of this fabric around here, so I thought it was a good chance to use it up. So I made a border for each side, and these are 2 inches, and it'll finish about 1.5 inches, I think, to get it all finished. And then I take and made another one with the little half square triangle in each corner. And I'll make one down here, and it finished up to look like this. So that's a 9-inch block, and that should fit in nicely with my sampler quilt. And I'll use this as block number 9. And then this one, I had some half square triangles that I had made up. And they're 4.5 inches, I think. And I needed about 1 inch to bring it out to a 9-inch square block. So I'm trying to concentrate and trying to think about my block here. Yeah, it was a 4.5-inch square finished, these ones. So then I took a 4.5-inch by 2 inches. This piece is 4.5 by 2 inches, and I sewed it on here and here to join these two together, and the same with this. And then I took another 2 and with a little square in the center, and I fussy cutted that. So that's sort of like a churn dash, but it's not all the same size block. So I don't know whether they consider that a churn dash or not. So that makes another block, and it uses up my 4-inch squares that I had, or 4.5-inch half square triangles. And then maybe you'll remember in my last video, if you saw my last video, that I was making a whole lot of these little half square triangles, and they were 2.5-inch half square triangles. And my blocks were 2.5, so then they 1/4 inch off that makes them a little smaller. So they finish at 2 inches. And I'm going to go over that again. Just anybody that missed my video, you can go back and check it out. Or you can just, this will end up, this is 4 inches. Or I'm going to start again. I take the width of my fabric, 45 inches, 44, 42, whatever it ends up as. And if I want to make a lot of half square triangles, I will take 2 pieces. This is just paper, but 2 pieces, right sides together, and I mark the light side on the wrong side. So I want 4-inch triangles. So I take 8 inches of fabric, the width of the fabric. I draw a line down the center at 4 inches. So I got 4 inches here and 4 inches here, which is a total of 8. A line right down the center. And then I take and I mark 4 inches all the way down my fabric. And that gives me little squares, 4-inch squares. But I want half square triangles. So what I do is I line up my ruler with the corners and draw a line. And I draw a line between this one and this, and all the way down the whole row. And then I go down here and I do the same thing. And I mark this in black and red, just so it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. Now my grain of my fabric is running this way and this way. That's the straight of grain. This is the bias. So when I start to sew, I sew 1/4 inch from the red line, and I can basically just keep going straight. Like, really don't have to stop sewing, and come back up here, down here, and up here. Then I can start here, and you can see, and then I cut them. I take my rotary cutter and I'll just go all the way down the center. I cut these on the black lines because those are not sewn, and then I cut my red lines. And with about a 4-inch square, you should end up with about 40 half square triangles all the way across. So if you're making a quilt, you're not long making your half square triangles, depending on how many you need. And they're all on the straight of grain. See, I made these like that. And you see, this is on the straight of grain. This is on the straight of grain. There's a little give there, but this and this There's always a little bit more give on the cross wood grain. And then this is your bias, and it will stretch out of shape if you pull on it and press it wrong, but if you're careful, it's not going to, your square is going to stay a square. And these, a 4-inch half square triangle finishes at 3.5 inches. But if you wanted to make a 5-inch block, or a 5-inch half square triangle, you make this 10 inches. If you wanted to make a 6, you would make this 12 inches and 12 inches all the way this way. 6 inches all the way this way. So you wouldn't get quite as many on the bigger the block, of course, you wouldn't get quite as many out of a stretch of fabric, but you would get a good amount. And I made all of these. And I made a 5-inch. My fabric was only 5 inches across. And I divided it into 2.5. So they make an easy, fun way of making half square triangles. And then that's how I made this block. It didn't turn out just 100%. It's a little wonky in places, but that's partially because of me, of course. But my blue is a much lighter weight fabric than my gray. So I find sometimes when you're putting a lighter fabric with a heavier weight fabric, it doesn't come out quite as well. It sometimes goes a little wonky, but anyway, when I get it squared up, it could be okay. So that is number 10 block, or 11. Anyway, I'm going to keep making half square triangles, and thanks for watching. Bye now.